cling tint is hazy as fuck. I want to kind of go over like some things I've learned with tinting. So I just got done tinting this car. I did the windshield strip, both sides, of course the hatch, and I'm getting ready to go ahead and do the truck over there. And I've tried tinting a bunch of times, not a bunch of times, maybe like 3 times in the past. And every time, nothing ever worked for me. Like, I failed every single time. Like, these people make it look so easy. I highly recommend watching those videos before you start doing something like this. There's a couple key things that I realized that I kept screwing up on in the past. So, the last tint job I did, which was on this truck, I already peeled the tint off. And it got all jacked up. And that was a pre-cut tint, which wasn't that cheap. I mean, it was like 50 bucks. And I think it's like 150 bucks to get it professionally tinted. I should just do that. One of the things I've learned is you have your soapy water. So I just use this. And it's just water mixed with a little bit of Dawn dish soap, and it worked perfect. Baby shampoo I think is a little bit better, but I didn't have any of that. I used what I had. But when you spray your window, the stuff is cheap. I mean, it's just a couple dots of dish soap and water, and just make sure it's fully saturated. And if it starts drying off, spray some more. Don't worry about going easy on the soapy water. And then, so once you get it laid on there, you got to keep applying soapy water. Same thing with the inside. You're going to be using a lot of soapy water to make it nice. And that's one of the issues I've had in the past, was I didn't put enough soapy water and it started drying and started getting stuck in positions I didn't want to be stuck in. Another thing I learned is, although the glass looks straight, it may not be straight. So you may need to shrink the film with a heat gun. And there's a lot of videos on that, so watch that. So if you start getting a bunch of fingers coming out, you probably needed to shrink the film if you can't get rid of them. So when I spray the soapy water, I put this and I put the tint on it. Here's some tint. Oh, see, it's already starting to dry. So let's spray some more soapy water on there. Do not have too much soapy water. Put your tint on. Of course, I don't know, this may not be the right side out. And then you go and you tack it into place with a squeegee. If this does not lay perfectly on the outside of the glass, it's not going to lay perfectly on the inside of the glass. Basically, when you cut, if you got to cut it out, even if it's pre-cut, when you lay it on the outside, make sure it sits perfectly flat. You can use it on the outside here too. Use as much as you need. It makes it easier to, this is not a how-to. This is just more of showing you what mistakes I've made in the past. So I'm not actually tinting this as is right now. If you got fingers and stuff showing up on the outside, you're going to have that same issue just as bad, if not worse, on the inside. So make sure it lays perfectly. Squeegee all the air bubbles out. Make sure it's sitting exactly how you want it. That'll make things a lot easier. And make sure there's no wind that will cause this thing to wrinkle, because that's a mistake that I kept having. Is I would try to pick it up and it would go like that, and it would get all creased. And at that point, the film is basically unusable. You're very careful bringing it from the outside to the inside, and plan out your steps on how you're going to go from the outside to the inside and how you're going to pick it up and get the inside. I am by no means a professional tinter. My tint job on the car is not the greatest, but I'm just showing you my mistakes that I've made in the past and that I've learned from them. And since then, it looks halfway decent from 10 feet away. Also, like the first time I tried cutting tint, I really sucked at it. So cutting the doors was actually pretty easy. Cutting fixed glass, like a windshield or anything else, that was a pain in the ass. And this dot matrix thing is a pain in the ass. especially in that car, the dot matrix wasn't, I didn't have all the adhesive from the old tint cleaned off. So the edges on some of the windows don't look the greatest. But that was due to prep work, not so much the tint, I believe. So if you're going to use regular rolls of tint, like I did, and I'll have a link in the description, this is what I've learned to make it, you know, fairly easy. Yeah, pre-cut would be a lot easier. But with the rolls, because it's cheaper, you have the flexibility to, if you mess up, to go ahead and, you know, learn from your mistakes and redo it and not cost you as much money. If you're just trying to learn, I'd suggest doing the rolls and cutting it yourself. And then once you kind of get it down, if you want to do another vehicle or redo it again with pre-cut, that's cool. This is what I've learned is you lined up the bottom here straight. I lined up the bottom with the window cracked down a little bit. I lined up the bottom to like right here. You know, maybe an 1/8 inch below this plastic edge. And that seemed to work for me. You could probably actually just line it up to right here. So you got the sheet here, then you cut out a bigger, you know, just so it's not flapping around. And of course, the window's still wet and all that. Then all you do is you go to one, and make sure you have enough overlap on both on the top and both sides. You're gonna go and very carefully, not digging into here, you're gonna go ahead and cut this side. Almost, you're gonna go ahead and cut this side almost to the top. Then, because it's wet, and you put plenty of soap and water on it, you can slide the whole thing over. You know, you're gonna have to lift it up here a little bit so it slides up on top of here. Slide the whole thing over to, I don't know, about, maybe about there or somewhere, you know, 1/4 inch in or something. And you just go on this side and you just cut. Do recommend using stainless steel blades. I didn't do it, but do recommend that. All right, so now you got your sides perfect. And now you can shift this back over where it's centered, overlap on both sides. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna lift the bottom of the tint up, spray it with plenty of soap and water, both underneath the tint and the glass, and roll the window down, you know, 2 inches. With the window rolled down, just start someplace, poke this in, and with the blade resting on the glass, just slide it through. And then you come through and you slide that side through. And then you rip off, and you have a little section here and a little section there, that you can then go ahead and just kind of like, you know, guesstimate it where it needs to be, and just kind of round it off. So cutting it is not that bad. When I've tried it in the past, I didn't know the right order to do it. So if you do it in that order, it worked perfectly fine for me. This is a lot harder to cut. I didn't have the right pieces to be able to cut it correctly. The problem is when you put the tint on here, you can't see where the edge is. Some kind of white tape or white pinstripe tape would be ideal. I wanted to experiment with the cling tint. That's what I tried doing on this back window, and it did not come out. Also, cling tint is hazy as fuck, so don't buy cling tint. All right, that's all I got for today. Aloha, peace out. Catch you on the next one.